This is the FindBuyTool 6-inch helical cutter head for the jet joiner. And this is a 6-inch jet joiner. And today, we're gonna put this in this. Wish me luck. So a little bit about this cutter head. FindBuyTool did send this one out to me, and I do have a little bit of experience with FindBuyTool products. They sent me their 13-inch helical head planer earlier this year. I did a review video on that one, and I thought it was pretty good. So much so that I went out and bought myself their 13-inch helical cutter head to install on my DeWalt planer. I've liked both of those products, so I reached back out to them to see if they'd be willing to send this one out to me so I could do a review and install video for you guys. And if you don't consider yourself mechanically inclined, then this might be the video for you, because I don't consider myself mechanically inclined either. And I'm gonna show you guys everything. So if there are any hiccups, you guys will see them. If it's smooth sailing, you guys will see that too. And as always, I do these videos to help you determine if the products that I'm reviewing are something that you want to take a closer look at or add to your shop. And if you do, then I'll put links everywhere pretty much. I'll put them in the description, I'll put them in the YouTube shopping tab when available, and on QR codes on the screen. So with all that out of the way, let's get started. Okay, Future Daniel here. I wanted to go over the tools that I use for this job, so if you want to grab these and lay them out, you can. I'll point out the ones that are kind of optional, that you might not need, but here's everything that I used. Rubber mallet, a hammer, drill and impact driver. Those are definitely optional. You don't need them, but they make things go a little faster. These pliers here are optional as well, but they definitely came in handy to loosen up some of those tight bolts. Phillips head screwdriver, a 3-inch gear puller with a 12mm socket, a socket wrench with a 10mm socket. You won't need that if you don't need to adjust your beds, but I had to adjust my outfeed bed, so you might not need it. An 8mm hex wrench and a 3mm hex wrench, a 14mm wrench, and some dry lube. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is take our Phillips head screwdriver and remove the blade guard. Next, we have this mechanism that is used to move the fence forward and backward. When you tighten and loosen it, we're just gonna take this all the way off. And that lets us take the fence completely off. Next, there are 2 bolts that need to be removed with either a 5/16 or 8mm hex wrench or Allen key or whatever you want to call it. And I actually didn't have any this big, so I had to go out and buy some. So I'll leave links to the ones I got. Just got them off of Amazon. They're pretty cheap. So if you don't have any that size and you need to buy some, I'll leave links below. Okay, so I told you I was going to share all the hiccups, and we ran into our first one. It's pretty early, actually. And that is, this bolt right here is in a really awkward position. It's hard to get to, and I'm not sure it's ever been removed. So I'm having a tough time just using the hex wrench to get it off. So I'm going to try using some of this dry lube. This is WD-40 dry lube. It says it's good for table saws, drills, and lathes. I assume that includes joiners. Ah, there we go. So next is removing the belt guard. It's held on by 4 Phillips head screws, and you can use a screwdriver, drill, impact driver, whatever to remove it. I'm using an impact driver because power tools. Okay, so now we're going to remove the belt from the pulley. And I remember when I did my install of the helical head on my planer, and the belt and the pulley is what gave me the most problems. So I'm hoping this isn't the same way, but we'll see. I'm just gonna put some gloves on so I don't pinch my fingers. Okay, so I got it off the pulley, but I can't get it out because there's a screw down there keeping it. I don't want to take all that out, so I'll just leave it there for now. If I have to go back later and take it out, I'll do it. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna have to do is take a 14mm wrench and remove these bolts. One on the back side here, and then there's one on the front side here. The one on the back side looks like when I remove it, it's going to fall down the little dust chute, and I'll have to retrieve it through here. The one in the front, I don't know. Let's see. Okay, let's start with the front. All right, well, we got that one loose, but it didn't come off. So let's try going to the back. Okay, that one, like I said, I think it's gonna have to come out of here. The dust chute cover is just held on with 4 Phillips head screws. All right, got that off. Okay, there we go. There we go. Got the cutter head out. So now that we have the old cutter head out, you can see the difference. One is that these 2 mounting plates, or whatever you call them, need to come from here to over here, and this pulley needs to come over here. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, the first thing we're going to do to remove the pulley is to use a 3mm hex wrench to loosen these little screws right here. And I'm wearing gloves because obviously this is, even though the knives are kind of dull and they're past their prime, but still don't want to cut myself. Okay, so to get the pulley off and the mounting plates off, we're going to use a gear puller. And I didn't have one of these before this. I went and got this one off of Amazon, so if you want, I'll leave a link to this one. It was pretty cheap. There are a ton of different pulleys out there. This one was, like I said, pretty inexpensive, and it seems to work fine. So I'll leave a link to this one if you want to check it out. There's also a little key inside there that you don't want to lose. That's pretty cool. Okay, so since the cutter will be a little bit unstable to try to sit up like this, I'm gonna put it in my little match fit vise here. All right. Now the bearing stayed inside of the mounting plate when I took it off of the original cutter head, so I'm going to put that here on top of 2 pieces of plywood and use a mallet and a wrench to try to get that out. Okay, the rubber mallet didn't work. Let's try a hammer. There we go. That worked. Okay, so now we're going to put the mounting plates on the new cutter head. And the mounting plates aren't the same. They have different size holes, but the bearings are different size, so you can't put them on the wrong way. They can only go on one way. Not sure if I should use a hammer there. We're going to try the mallet on the next one, the rubber mallet. All right. Yeah, that was better. I should have definitely used the mallet the first time. Okay, now to put the pulley back on. As you can see, it has this key here that you want to line up with that slot. Okay, now we're going to take our Allen key and tighten these back up. So now we're going to take this, put it back in, and put the cutter teeth on. Okay, the first thing we need to do is put the cutter head back in and then tighten these bolts. So with this, you just want to line up this bolt with the hole on the bottom side of the mounting plate. And I tightened it with my finger first, and now I'm going to finish off with the wrench. Okay, the front side is good. The back side is probably going to be a bit more challenging. Okay, so the back side is a little bit trickier. You've got to reach up through the dust port with one hand while you use the other hand to try to get the thread started. So a little bit trickier than the front. All right, we got it started. So once you get it started, it's pretty easy. Okay, so now we just have to tighten it with the wrench. All right, we're looking pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to put the individual cutter blades on before I reattach the belt. The FindBuyTool comes with everything you need to put the individual cutters on. You have the cutters themselves, the screws, and this little handheld star-headed drive. But I'm actually not going to use this. I'm just going to use my drill and set the torque setting to maybe 5 or so. It would be different depending on which model you have, but I want to make sure I don't tighten these too tight, but also obviously making them tight enough. So when I did the cutter install for the planer, the setting of my drill that I used was 5, so I think it should work for this. Okay, as I install these, I'm going to make sure that each of the cutters is facing the same way. So the cutters have little numbers on them, 1, 2, 3, and then like a diamond. So I'm just going to make the diamond for my orientation be in the top left. And it doesn't matter which direction they are, just as long as they're facing the same way. And the reason you want them facing the same way is because when you go to rotate all of them, if they're all facing the same way, it makes it that much easier. So I ran to my first one that's giving me trouble going into the hole. Screws give me trouble going into the hole. I had the same issue, and I mentioned it in my review for the cutter head for the DeWalt. Some of the screws, for some reason, just were fighting me going in. So I'm running into the same thing here. I can either turn the torque setting up on here or just use my impact driver. That's what I did with the DeWalt, and it worked fine, but ideally, this wouldn't be the case. They should all just go in smoothly. Okay, that seemed to work, but I'm gonna go ahead and put the rest in. I'll let you know how many more, if any, I have trouble like that with, but we'll see. All right, I got all the blades in there. There's 4 rows of 7 for a total of 28 blades, and only 2 of the 28 gave me any problems where I had to increase the torque on the drill to get it to go in. So not bad. I mean, ideally, it'd be all 28 were easy to go in, but 2 out of 28, I'll take it. Okay, so we're gonna finish putting this back together, and you may need to do some adjustments to your joiner once you change your blades, but there's a bunch of different adjustments depending on if your joiner is even out of whack or how much out of whack it is. So that's a bit out of the scope of this video. So for now, we're just gonna go ahead and finish putting this back together, do a test cut, and let you get on with the rest of your day. Okay, first we're gonna put the belt back on. And I'm not sure how hard this is gonna be. Again, this was the hardest part when I did the Helical Cutterhead install on my planer. So here's hoping it's a little bit easier. All right. All right. That actually was not too bad. Okay, now we're gonna put the belt cover back on. Okay, now for the, I don't know what you call this thing, the fence support piece. You wanna put the bolts in first to get it started. Then you put this part on. Okay, next we put the actual fence on. Or should I be? I forgot to make sure that this part is level, so I need to raise this up a little bit. Okay, now for the fence. And this little track goes right here. Just have to put this pin in with this at the bottom. Okay, can't forget to put this dust cover back on. Okay, so we just have to put the blade guard back on and we should be good to go. Remember though, you're gonna want to twist this piece because it should have some snap back to it in order to keep the blade guard over the blade. All right, now we just put the screw back in. Okay, first we're going to test it out by just turning it on. So far, so good. Okay, first we're gonna try testing it out by sending this rough piece of cedar through. Wow, this is crazy smooth. This is crazy. This is way better. I mean, my old straight blades were about cooked, so it's probably not a fair comparison, but I mean, this is nice. Let's try something a little harder. I'm gonna get a piece of oak. Okay, so here's a piece of red oak. It's got some burning on it from when I cut it, but it'll work. This is really nice. I am impressed. So there you have it. After having installed the Helical Cutterhead on both my planer and my joiner now, I'm super impressed with the FindBuyTool helical heads. And I have to say, the joiner install is much easier than the planer install. So if you've done the planer and you're worried about doing the joiner, if you've done the planer, this one's no problem. And if you haven't done either one, this one's a lot easier than the planer. So like I said, if you're interested in adding this to your shop, the links are in the description, QR code, shopping tabs, all that stuff. And hopefully this video was helpful for you, and we'll see you on the next one.